we can just get comfy because you can.
Hello,
Hello.
we're back. Just about. We're actually in Hungary at the moment, aren't we? But that's for another video down the road. But what we've been able to do, having a bit of downtime, is actually look at our vlogs. Captain, look at our vlogs that we've actually recorded already and edit them and see if there's anything else that we can add to them that's any value to you guys. So I've wrote a little list here. So without further ado, so basically this is all the stuff that you need actually before you actually go away from the UK into Europe, and obviously we're going to Turkey as well, aren't we? So I've compiled a list and we're going to go through it. Well, Lee's more clued up than me. I'll just wait for my glass of red to warm up in the sunshine.
Talk about Schengen. So most people will be aware that since Brexit, UK nationals have only been allowed to stay or visit EU countries for a maximum of 90 days in each 180 days. So it sounds easy enough. If you're doing simple travelling, it's pretty straightforward. But if you're moving between different countries and coming and going, as it's quite easy to do, especially when you get into the Balkans area, then it's helpful to have a calculator on hand. And there's a useful app which is called 90180.com. It's the word, the letters spelling out 90, and then the numerals 180.com, and it's quite easy to use. There isn't an app actually, but it's a web page. But if you put all your dates in and when you're in or out of Schengen, it calculates it for you. It's also worth bearing in mind that dates of transition are counted in Schengen. So if you're passing from one country to another country in a day, you have to count that day too.
Next is motor insurance.
Okay, so a pretty complicated topic, motor insurance in general, but obviously you need to make sure that you're adequately insured for the countries that you're visiting. So the first port of call would be your current insurance company. Different companies obviously operate in different ways. There's a lot in the fine print. Sometimes even the same company has different policies depending upon the nature of the actual product that you have. For example, we have LV multi-car cover, because we've got a car and the van on the same policy, which has worked well for us.
Been really good.
And that allows 180 days of European travel per policy year. So that's something else to bear in mind when you're working out your dates, because you're limited by either the Schengen dates or your insurance dates. You just got to keep a track of both. And for other countries, a simple phone call to the insurance company will let you know which countries you're covered for. And you also need to check whether you're covered in those countries for fully comp, if your policy is fully comp, or a third party. Because on some policies I've heard about, it's a fully comp policy for the UK, but it only covers the minimum cover for foreign countries, EU countries. You just need to take care of that. Ours actually covers, it's the same level of cover in Europe as it is in the UK. However, it doesn't cover all countries, so you need to check that out. And if you're intending on travelling to other countries, look into the option of getting additional cover from your current provider. That's what's referred to as a green card, which is it's a bit of a hangover from years ago when you used to actually get a piece of green paper to extend your policy cover. Nowadays, it's just we've got a document that was emailed to us. It's white, but it's not green, but it's still called a green card.
Right.
And in our case, that covers us, and we've had to pay extra for that to cover us for Serbia and Turkey. It's also possible to get the minimum level of cover for countries at the border. We're trying to avoid doing that because we don't want to be messing about with any degree of uncertainty or having to pay extra money out but as I understand it, over the border in some countries, there's a little kiosk and you can go inside and buy cover from them. I think we'll need to do that for Morocco probably, but we'll cross that bridge when we get to it.
Another bridge. So next is MOT.
Yeah, so MOT is pretty straightforward. So if the thing to bear in mind that if you're travelling long term like us, and we intend to be away for most of the year in and out of Schengen countries. So the vehicle, our vehicle as an example, is registered and insured in the UK. So it's a UK based vehicle. That means you've got to have an MOT valid in the UK for everything still to be legal. What that means sometimes is you've got to get an MOT done before the anniversary date maybe. So for us, for example, on this trip we left England at the beginning of February. The MOT was only due in June, but we intend to be away until at least July, August. So before we left the UK, we got it MOT'd again early.
Good idea, that.
And then we're going to probably get it done again in August, because shortly after that we'll be leaving for another trip. So it's just a case of making sure that you keep your MOT valid. I've seen posts recently online where people have been asking what happens if your MOT runs out when you're abroad, and all kinds of wacky answers to that, including people saying that you're covered if you've got an MOT appointment and you're on your way to that MOT.
It's daft, you might as well just go and get another MOT, then the clock starts again then, doesn't it?
For a start, you're better off with your MOT not running out before, to give you the problem. But my understanding of the situation, if it did run out, is you'd have to get put onto a low loader and transported back to the UK. The rule that supposedly exists about travelling without an MOT to an MOT station, I'm sure that just applies to if you're in England and you just need to get yourself a few miles down the road to an MOT station. It doesn't count if you're driving back from Spain, I'm pretty sure. I wouldn't risk it anyway. So the point is, make sure that your MOT is valid with your insurance and that it's all registered to the same address in the UK.
Right, and next on the list is the V5s. Getting copies of V5s, of your V5.
Yeah, so all the documentation we've mentioned has to be registered at the same address. So in our case, we've rented our house out. As it happens, we have another house that a family member lives in. So we've transferred everything to that other address. So insurance, V5, etc. If you're renting your house out and you don't have another property, as I understand it, the best thing to do would be to use a family address. Again, I've seen posts online where they talk about using these PO box services, and I'm not certain that would work for your insurance and MOT. The point about copies is, as with any of this official documentation, I just take a photograph of all of them, keep them on my phone, just in case any of them ever get lost.
Next is, which is a good one for us, breakdown insurance.
Yeah, well, we're currently sat in Hungary, broken down.
No, Captain?
Breakdown insurance is pretty important.
They've been brilliant, haven't they? Our breakdown insurance.
Yeah, shout out for Britannia Insurance, which is part of our LV policy. I think we paid about £95 a year. In the last 3-4 years, we've called them out 4 times. Twice in the UK just for a starter battery issue. Once in Germany when...
You got an error message, didn't you?
Yeah, it went into limp mode and they just
cleared it
with a laptop. And now this occasion where we've been here for 10 days because we've got a clutch problem. So really important that you get breakdown insurance. If the worst happens, you'll at least get repatriated. You and your vehicle will get repatriated back to the UK. Just one thing for dog owners, pet owners, as I understand it, your pet isn't always covered by that repatriation. So if it did happen to us, we would have probably some kind of issue, or we'd have to negotiate a way of getting Captain back to the UK. So again, it's just something to be aware of.
Travel and health insurance next.
Yeah, so separate issues, aren't they? So travel insurance is what you'd have for normal holidays if you go away and your luggage gets stolen, or that type of insurance, which to my mind is less relevant for this type of full-time travelling. I guess it might help some people if there's a ferry delay or something like that, maybe, but we don't have travel insurance. I know that some people have it as part of their bank account. I think Nationwide do one that seems to be quite popular. You have to pay a fee of about £13 a month. It covers various things. So that's travel insurance. Health insurance is the more important one, whereby obviously if you fell seriously ill or you needed hospital treatment, you can get a minimum level of cover with what's now called the GHIC card. It's a replacement to the EHIC. So E for Europe, G for global, since Brexit. I think it should cover you in, I'm not sure about every country, but it should cover you most of the cost of normal public health treatment. I think about 80%, but it's a bit uncertain, and I'm not sure it covers you in every country for every situation. So, and certainly if you wanted to get repatriated, you'd need proper health insurance. So that's obviously something worth looking into, depending upon your own circumstances. Clearly, as you get older, that gets more expensive and potentially has restrictions on it, on the cover.
Next is international driving permit.
Yeah,
it's a long list.
Yeah, I should have. Well, yeah. So you've got your UK driving license, which even after Brexit still covers you for most countries, and is perfectly valid. However, there are some countries that you need an additional document called an international driving permit. And if you look online, with all these things, I would recommend looking at gov.uk. You could look at all kinds of websites, RAC, AA, etc., different forums. But I always go to the gov.uk and look up the country that you're travelling to, and it tells you what the requirements are. So the international driving permit for us is required in Serbia and I think Turkey, for other countries as well. You can get them, currently you can get them from a post office. Not every post office. You've got to look up on the post office website to find out which ones issue them. It only costs £5.50. You just need your driving licence and the credit card type driving license with photo ID, and a separate passport sized photograph, because they attach that into the document, and they just do it there and then. They handwrite the document. You give them your £5.50 and that's it. I have seen recently online though that they're changing that process. I think the post office is stopping from issuing them. I'm not sure, and I believe they are valid for 3 years, I think, something like that. But again, worth checking the country that you're travelling to and all the different requirements that you need.
Next are emission stickers.
Oh, we missed out dash cam. Do you want to come back? Dash cam's a dead quick one, which is get a dash cam, because
if you have an accident or whatever, someone bangs into you.
We paid about 40 quid on Amazon, just easy to attach. It has been known, I've seen stories of what's it called, crash for cash, where there was one unfortunate couple who have posted a lot on Facebook. They had a really nice, I think it was a Mercedes motorhome, and then somebody did one of those routines on them where the car in front brakes really suddenly, you crash into the back of them, and then it results in an insurance claim, and they had to get repatriated. But a dash cam obviously gives you some evidence, which is really important for that.
Then the emission stickers. We've got two of them, haven't we?
We've got two, but we possibly don't actually need them, or we've not needed them. But there's one for France called the Critère, and so this is where, to travel into certain towns and cities, you've got to have this sticker on the windscreen, which indicates the type of vehicle that you've got, and pretty simple to apply for. There's an official French website. We could post the link on, because again there's all kinds of dodgy links that you could get into where they charge you extra to get the same thing. The official French one's quite straightforward, really. You don't have to send any. I think you had to upload the V5 and fill in some pages, and that was it. And then it came through.
In Germany, you went to a different shop,
Yeah,
didn't you?
yeah, I'll come to that. So the Critter one, online there's a list of the towns and cities. Rouen often gets mentioned because the ring road, depends which way you go, but you can end up going through Rouen and being in the restricted area, and then you end up whacked with a big fine, €100 or something. But there is a route that we've been on that bypasses that, but people seem to get a bit hung up about Rouen. It is really easy in Paris if you get on the wrong road, which is very easy to do.
We ended up in Paris, didn't we?
We ended up
Luckily,
yeah,
we're late at night.
I don't think the Critter bit applied in that circumstance, but there were some height restrictions on the motorway that the tunnel thing that we were going down. But anyway, I ended up getting a Critter for France because it's just easier than risking it, and it lasts for as long as your windscreen lasts, basically. And I think it was about a £5, and you get it posted to your English address before you set off, so worth getting. The German one there's a couple of ways of getting it online. We left it a bit late, so what John was meaning is I went to there's I can't remember the name of the place now. We'll put the link on, but these are kind of MOT testing centres in Germany that issue them, and we just rocked up at the first big town that we came into in Germany, came off the motorway straight to this testing centre, V5. Sometimes people have said that you need to prove your emission status of your van, because it's often not written on the V5. That space is blank usually. It is on ours, but we didn't have to prove anything because it's the same green sticker for Euro 6 vans anyway. If you've got an older van, it could be more of an issue maybe, but if you're Euro 6 onwards, I think it's fairly straightforward, and most vehicles nowadays are anyway. I think that was about £17.50, something like that.
All mounts up, doesn't it?
Well, it does, but again, I don't think we would actually have needed it, although we did end up close to the centre of Nuremberg, so I didn't see any signs that said you're entering a zone, but it could well have been the case. I did see a sign on one of the autobahns that on one of the turn-offs, the Ausfahrts, which the sign actually said, it had a picture of the green sticker and basically said you can only turn off here if you've got the green sticker. Obviously you could have gone on to the next turn off for that town probably, but it sounds like it's quite easy to end up in a zone by accident. We don't tend to go into towns and city centres, do we really? But
we didn't intend to go to Paris, but we did.
Yeah, exactly. So in my opinion, it's worth getting those too. Other countries have them as well. I think Italy has got a system. Again, check online before you travel.
Continuing with the stickers then, the headlight deflectors.
Headlight deflectors.
Because we're driving up the wrong side of the road.
Most people who've been to Europe for years will know that because your headlights are set for UK roads, and we're driving on the opposite side over here, then there are these plastic things that you can stick on the front just to headlight beam deflectors. You can get them at Halfords or
Amazon
garages, Amazon.
Angles Mort.
Angles Mort gets a bit, yeah. So this is a French thing, I think, for larger vehicles, which they've got these yellow stickers on the side and the back. I think the idea is that it's warning cyclists or other travellers to be wary of the size of the vehicle and the fact that it might swing out, etc., and cause an issue. As I understand it, you only need an Angles Mort for a motorhome if it's over 3.5 tons. But again, I've seen various debates about that online. By all means, check it out for yourself, but I'm pretty sure that we've been abroad now into France 6 times without a sticker. We've never had an issue.
And also there's also the emergency bits that you've got to have, like them yellow jackets and
Yeah.
the triangle, isn't it, in case you break down?
Yes, this is equipment you've got to carry with you in certain countries, France, Germany, all on the Gov website. But typically, let's say in France, you need to have the red warning triangle to stick behind you if you've broken down. Each person has got to have a high vis jacket, the yellow ones, spare bulbs for your car, and I think you've still got to have a breathalyzer, a hand breathalyzer thing that you blow into. None of these things are expensive particularly, but we've never been asked for them. But theoretically, you could get stopped by the police and ask for those items, and if you don't have them, then you'll get fined. And obviously, if you did break down on a busy road, it's a good idea to have those safety items anyway.
I think that's about enough for the van now, do you?
Okay.
Unless anybody else can think of anything else that we've missed.
Sure.
But
I mean,
we've
stick it in
the
comments.
comments.
We can answer it if we.
Yeah.
If we know.
And going on now, like to medications, if you're on any regular medications, it'd be a good idea to have an account of them. We just use the NHS app and it'll bring up all your medications. It's on there, but it's just useful because a lot of countries you can get them over the counter as well, can't you? You got some from Turkey, didn't you? Regular medications when you were over there,
Yeah.
without prescription. So, but if anything happened to you, it'd be really helpful if you had, if you are on medication, to have all that at hand, printed out or whatever, just to hand it over in case there's an accident.
If you,
you know,
sorry, go on.
that's it.
If you've got any, obviously for people, I've just got some relatively low dose blood pressure tablets that I take.
That's what they're doing with me.
No, I don't.
It's
So.
driving
I
in
think it's
Europe
my
in that.
stressful lifestyle before going full-time travelling. Hopefully I'll be able to stop. But obviously if you've got any other medications, you need to check it out with your GP before you go. I'm not sure how people would get on with certain drugs if you were travelling long-term abroad. I asked my GP about getting extra prescriptions, and I think the maximum they would allow was 3 months. So for somebody going longer than that, you'd have to check it out.
We've not come up with an answer for that. I don't think there's many people got an answer for that, has there? You know, it's
If you can't buy them abroad, I mean, I guess you could go to a doctor abroad. And another thing that might be useful is getting a copy of your medical records from your GP that you've got with you. If it depends on your circumstances, but
you can
think-
you can check them on the app.
I think perhaps if you went to a doctor abroad and showed them your records and the medication that you're on, perhaps you could get a prescription from a foreign doctor, but I don't know.
Right, moving on then to useful apps. Apps are like brilliant, aren't they? The biggest one for me is the Google Translate. Definitely get that, because obviously you need it. But I mean, when I went to Turkey to get my teeth done and that, I downloaded it in while I was in Wi-Fi, and it was on the phone, and then you could use it when you weren't in a Wi-Fi area.
Yeah.
So you could just talk into it and play it to the taxi driver or whatever. So any country that you're going to be going into, I would definitely download it, not just rely on it to be in a Wi-Fi area. Once it's downloaded, it's always on there. So that's a really big,
You've got
big
all.
one for me.
It's free. You've got all languages. I mean, when we had the issue with the van last week, we were in Hungary, in a fairly small town. I was dealing with 2 guys who didn't speak a word of English, and clearly I don't speak any Hungarian. And we managed to figure out a fairly complicated situation just using Google Translate and just typing stuff in, showing it to each other, vice versa, and we've got through that fine. It's also great for sending emails. You can just copy and paste your words into it, stick it in an email. And we've also been communicating that way with the garage.
And also it's good when you've got it on your camera. If you've got your camera open, you can just hold it onto labels of tins and actually
Yeah,
see
that's
what's in them.
brilliant.
That's brilliant in the shop, so you can just see
Yeah.
it's already there. But
It's not-
like I said, if it's already downloaded and you're not relying on the Wi-Fi, then you can go.
Yeah, it's
away.
not foolproof. It sort of leads to some funny moments, doesn't it? Because sometimes you'll hover over an item and it comes up with some odd translation or whatever, but usually you can figure it out.
And also, the parking apps have been brilliant for us. We've hardly paid for anything, have we? Which are Search for Sites, Park for Night. They're the two main ones that we use.
Yeah, there's plenty of others. Stellplatz, a camping car, I think it is. Stellplatz for Germany. But in all honesty, we've been to multiple countries, and Park for Night is the one for us for free or very cheap overnight stays. Search for Sites, I think, is a bit better for campsites, longer term stuff maybe. But Park for Night also has things like services. We needed some water and get rid of black and grey waste in
it's all on
Austria,
there.
which is a bit difficult to find. We found an option in Austria using that.
It was really good. We really rely on that. I think
Even
it's about, I think
laundries,
it's £8 a year, is it? £7.99.
something like that for Park for Night. Yeah.
Yeah.
There's loads of others. Do your research yourselves. I'm sure different people like different things. I think some people just use Google or Google Maps, because if you stick, any word you're searching for, parking place or motorhome or air or Stellplatz in German, you'll find stuff just popping up on Google Maps.
You actually use that for your fuel prices as well, don't you?
Yeah.
Google Maps.
Yeah.
It'll tell you it'll show, if you type in petrol stations, it'll come up with all petrol stations around and all the prices of it as well. They're up to date.
It's worth mentioning that as well, because different countries have obviously different taxation or whatever. And for example, Luxembourg's relatively cheap, whereas when we were travelling through, I think it was Holland, it's more expensive. Germany was a bit cheaper than Holland, I think. But you can sort of do the research as you're travelling, and
so you're not going off route and stop at right places.
Yeah.
Hungary was Hungary's cheap, isn't it? Not that we've used any fuel because we've not moved.
Yeah, Hungary's
really.
relatively, yeah.
And also my LPG app, that's brilliant.
Yeah, so we've got a refillable gas bottle,
Yeah.
and the best, I mean, there's loads of places to refill in Europe anyway. There's an app called mylpg.eu, which shows you the locations and the prices. That's really useful. So there's a currency app which is really useful as well, called XE. You can set it up so it's got all different currencies showing on the same page, and you type in whichever one it is, Hungarian florins or whatever, and that will come up.
And also the credit card that we use, which is really good.
Yeah, so in terms of getting cash, we don't tend to carry a lot of cash. We've had some euros with us. For years we've used a Halifax Clarity card. It's a credit card. There's no fees. You can use it in ATMs. We've used it worldwide. I'd recommend using that.
So I hope that helps everybody. Hopefully that's all the stuff that you need to consider before you actually leave the UK, and it's like you say, it's a good old list, so give yourself plenty of time before you start travelling, and don't leave yourself in the lurch.
Yeah, there's probably stuff we've forgotten or missed off that, but it might sound quite daunting, but we've done our research for a number of months before setting off and had various trips previously, so it's not that difficult. And if you got stuck, there's plenty of people to help in the forums.
Okay, see you next
All good.
time.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.